Friday night church, amen. That's what we call it. Friday night church, amen. So we're in the learning institution, and I'm happy to say I just learned some stuff. My name is Malik Yoba. And in the spirit of service, my brother Kurt James asked me to host something on March 2nd. I didn't know what it was. I just said yeah on the strength of, this is a brother that I know that is a professor, he's a PhD. He's a brother who spent some time on the other side of the bars, but has come out and dedicated his life to making a difference in the lives of others. And so it's interesting sometimes when we just agree to be of service to other folks and don't know why we're saying yes, but our spirit compels us to take action. And then you show up and you see this. I had no idea what I was coming to. I found out a few days ago on a phone call, but when I found out what this was, I knew that not only did I have to come, but I had to share a couple stories. This is Columbia University, and some folks might get excited when they see me going way back to films like Cool Runnings and New York Undercover, all the way up to Empire. And I love to tell this story. That nigga dead, though. Somebody said B building, 1199. I grew up in 1199. D building. That's where I had my paper route from 8 years old to 16 years old. I don't know if I might have delivered newspapers to you. So I'm not gonna be too long-winded, but my brother Jamal Joseph, whose group you just saw, Impact Theater Company, my acting career would have never started had it not been for him. Quick little story. Back in 1989, I used to work at a group called the City Kids Foundation. We ran out of money one summer. I had a waiter job also at Cafe Luxembourg on 70th Street in between Columbus and Amsterdam and West Side, West End Avenue. And half of the staff left that summer because we ran out of funding. And I chose to stay because I had this other form of income. I go to work one day, there's a sign on the wall that says it's paying $325 a day to audition for a film. Long story short, I do the film. I'm on set one day, I meet the writer. Look up, it's a light-skinned brother named Jamal Joseph that had just gotten out of doing 10 years in Leavenworth. And he told me about his involvement with the Black Panther Party. I said, hey man, I run this youth program. I would love for you to come down to City Kids and talk to my kids during Black History Month. Jamal came down, we all loved him, we ended up hiring him. He became the artistic director of City Kids Foundation, which included people like Isaiah Washington and Dule Hill and Dash Myhawk and a bunch of folks that Lauryn Hill came through there. A bunch of folks that have gone on to do great things. And Jamal is also the person who called me up one day and said, hey man, they're doing this movie. Actually before that, he told his wife Joyce, he said, I'm gonna make Malik famous. And he was working on a film called Liberated Territory about his involvement in the Panther Party. And I was supposed to be him as a younger person. And he told me about this movie by the Jamaican bobsled team. He said they're doing this audition down at SOB, call Jackie Brown. I called Jackie Brown on the last day. I was the last person they saw on the last day. I did an improv. 2 months later, Disney calls while I'm at Greenpeace saying, can you fly to LA tomorrow to screen test? Jamal Joseph is the person that I always call my personal Mandela, but also the person who I acknowledge without his role in my life. Right after he came out of prison, I wouldn't be standing here today, so I just want to give that acknowledgement. And he was going on to become running the film school here at Columbia, so that's amazing. He also just told me, this is the part I learned tonight. He said 6 years ago, when this initiative started, this auditorium wasn't even half full. And 6 years later, it's filled to the rafters. He also told me that as a result of this initiative, Columbia University has no longer chosen to do business with companies that deal with prisoners. I think I got the facts right. That's about right? the Center for Justice came out of that. So that's a little context. Now on with the program. I'm going to introduce Michelle Fine, who's a professor of CUNY, the CUNY grad. You know who she is? Excuse me? Come on, tell me what to do. Let the people know, because I know you done did 22 years, girl. Come on out here and talk to me. White people do go to jail and get out. Oh, yes. The tape. All right, get out of here and let me do my job, girl. All right, I was wrong. I'm gonna learn today, though. Apparently, we're gonna go to a pre-recorded tape of one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza. She's also the Special Projects Director of the National Domestic Workers Alliance. Hey girl, let's act like this is live, and go.
Hi, my name is Alicia Garza, and I am the Special Projects Director for the National Domestic Workers Alliance and one of the co-creators of the Black Lives Matter Network. I'm so excited to be able to send a message to you all tonight. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to join you there in person, but it's a real honor to be able to share some thoughts with you. And I'm so excited about the fact that so many of you are there to talk about the world that we need and want to see, a world beyond the bars, where we don't rely on the punishment economy, and instead we develop a new economy that's based on care, that's based on interconnectedness, and that is rooted in resilience and also in forgiveness. What we know about mass incarceration is that it is largely seen as an issue that impacts Black men, when the reality is that Black women are the fastest growing population in prisons and jails in this country. Many of those women who are behind bars are women who have faced violence at the hands of intimate partners within intimate relationships. Many of those women are casualties of a failed drug war and failed drug policy. And many of those women are casualties of a failed system known as capitalism. Unfortunately, when we talk to our society at large, it's hard for people to understand a world that exists without prisons, a world without jails, a world without incarceration. But it is our duty, it is our incredible duty to make sure that we are not only reimagining what that world can look like, but that we are making it real for everyday people, that we are putting that vision within the reach of everyday folks who may not be tossing around theories, right, that we have the luxury to debate, but instead are concerned about particular things, specific things like safety and how they'll keep their communities safe, specific things like how we solve problems that do arise in our communities. Ruthie Gilmore says that being an abolitionist is not just about the act of taking away, but it is certainly about the act of rebuilding and building up. And to be honest, this is a critical moment for us to build the alternatives and solutions that we all so desperately want to see. Each night when I turn on the television, I see caricatures of presidential candidates who are pushing for a world where there are more bars, pushing for a world that will increasingly be insecure, pushing for a world where we continue to keep our boot on the neck of so many nations and so many countries just striving for their own self-determination, striving to be able to support the residents of those nations. I see a rising fascist agenda that is sweeping the country. More and more we're seeing Klansmen and white supremacist organizations coming out of the shadows. And that's not just a domestic issue. The prevalence of this kind of rhetoric, the rising tide of fascism not only has impacts here in the United States, but certainly it has impacts across the globe. We, again, have an incredible opportunity to ensure that this is the year that we are advancing the alternatives that we are all waiting and longing for. We have the opportunity this year to ensure that the future for ourselves and for our children isn't a bleak one. I'm so excited that there are going to be conversations happening over this weekend about what we can do to build a world beyond the bars, a world where we build a true and deep and authentic solidarity between oppressed and marginalized and disenfranchised communities, and that we not only build solidarity and common cause, but that we leverage our relative positions economically, socially, politically, to build the type of power that we need to transform power itself, to exercise power with rather than power over, to reimagine the systems and the structures that we live under right now that cause us so much misery, and instead to start to build and advance systems and structures and processes that affirm the humanity of each of us, that allow for us to dream of a future where we all fit, that allows us to build a movement of movements that will continue far into the future and protect the rights of all of us to live in dignity and live with respect. There's so much more that I could say to you all tonight, but instead I'll just close with my favorite quote from Assata Shakur. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Have a great weekend, y'all.